Alright, all you Hershey chocolatiers and coaster fanatics especially, this is part 2 of my roller coaster run of Hershey Park, and what I think of all the coasters, at least the ones that I've been on, starting with, well, the oldest one, at least that's still standing. Yeah, there were some that came and went, but otherwise, let's start with the Comet. Yes, the oldest standing wooden coaster, or oldest standing roller coaster to be exact, in Hershey Park. Not to confuse with the awesome wooden coaster in The Great Escape at Queensbury, south of Lake George, New York. This is pretty much different. It's not as thrilling, but it's still fun. A great starter ride. Pretty cool drop. Airtime. Adequate amount of thrills. If you want a great taste of what a wooden coaster is like and you haven't been on one yet, give this one a go, because it may be old, but I think it's still great. So, final verdict, Rockin' Wii Remote Wii Motion Plus up and the Playing Wii Remote up. Alright, and next one is, well, the oldest steel coaster in this park, and that is Super Duper Looper. Yeah, I mentioned this briefly in some of my past videos, and I haven't gotten down to it. And just like Scorpion at Busch Gardens in Tampa, this also does not have a shoulder restraint. It only has a lap bar. Yeah, it's not obviously the only one that I've been on without a shoulder restraint, and I was a little iffy on this, but okay, I'll cut it the benefit of the doubt. It's an old ride, I get it, and being that it's called Super Duper Looper, you expect it to have a lot of loops, right? Nah, not quite. It only has one. Yeah, trust me, I'm sure a lot of people would be face-palming this name, but yeah, you can cut it the benefit of the doubt. It's a good starting coaster, just like Comet. Doesn't have a very big drop. Couple of twists and turns. It's pretty lengthy, and, well, it has one loop. If you like to see what a looping coaster is like, just with one to be exact, it's pretty smooth for the most part, and you go through a tunnel at the end of it. So, give it a go if you're looking for something rather mild, because this one may be old, but I think it still holds up. So, I give it just a plain 2-ear modes up. Don't take it personally. It's a great starter ride, especially those who like to see what inversions are like without a shoulder restraint, but I feel like the name is a little misleading, somewhat. But go for it. So, next one is an invert. The only park's inverted coaster with loops and everything like that, and obviously this isn't my first one, since I've been on both Dueling Dragon / Dragon Challenge, which is defunct obviously, as well as Montu, which I consider probably my favorite one at Busch Gardens, and this one I enjoyed just as well. Great amount of airtime, great first drop, loops, corkscrews, barrel rolls, and it runs really close in proximity with not only the Sky Ride, but also with Super Duper Looper, and the water underneath it too as well. Yeah, there's a little brook right underneath this part of the park. And yeah, it's very thrilling. Don't see any bears though. But don't let that deviate from your expectations. This is still a really fun, thrilling, and very smooth inverted coaster. And though I wouldn't wear flip-flops if you plan on going on this ride, otherwise you have to either leave them behind or sit on them, one way or another, because you don't want to lose them. But otherwise, yes, this Great Bear gives us a great fun inverted coaster. Well, actually the only inverted coaster in this park. And, well, my final verdict, Rockin' Wii Remote Wii Motion Plus up and a Playing Wii Remote up. Trust me, man, this bear has definitely got claws. So, next one, Sky Rush. Okay, well, I could safely say I was a little bit nervous before going on this one, mainly because, just look at the first drop. You can see it from almost a mile away. I mean, goddamn. Yeah, made by Intamin, the same company that did, of course, 2 awesome roller coasters at Islands of Adventure, Hagrid's Magical Creatures Motorbike Adventure, and the critically acclaimed, which I'm right there with them, Velocicoaster. Yeah, I ain't got much to say, and this one is certainly a winner. Almost. Yeah, you get plenty of airtime on this one. The first lift hill really goes up fast. I mean, the name Sky Rush is certainly not a lie here, wouldn't you say? And a 200-foot drop right down and a bunch of twists and turns and everything. Very smooth, but one complaint with this has to be the restraints. Yeah, I know a lot of people have griped about these, being that they're a little uncomfortable, but the one cool thing I have to note is if you sit on the edge seats, you get what's called the wing seats, and there, well, your legs dangle. If you sit in the middle, then you got the floor underneath you. So you can make your pick right there, but yeah, it's a thrilling attraction, but again, the restraints could have been more improved. I really wish and hope they fix these in the near future because they are a little uncomfortable depending on what size you are and everything like that. They can be a bit bad, especially when you're going down the first drop and going around the turns and everything like that. Otherwise, I give it just a Rockin' Weird Mode Wii Motion Plus up and a Playing Weird Mode up. I think that's appropriate right there for that one issue. Alright, next one, Fahrenheit. This one, I have to admit, I was pretty skeptical about going on, being that for one thing that makes it really stick out is, well, the drop. Yeah, it's 97 degrees, which means it goes more than straight down. Yeah, after going up a straight up 90 degree lift hill, you go straight down a 97 degree hill. First drop. I mean, god damn. And it wasn't that bad. Afterwards, it's pretty much your basic ordinary looping steel coaster. Typical stuff that I've done before out of the Hulk or any coaster that has inversions. Oh, and this one's also made by Intamin. Wouldn't be the last one, of course, that I'm about to mention. But yeah, as you'd expect, it's very smooth, get plenty of great airtime, and of course it has shoulder restraints, so you got nothing to worry about. So, yeah, if you're interested to see what this one is like, definitely go for it. I enjoyed the living hell out of it. My final verdict, Rockin' Weird Mode Wii Motion Plus up and a Playing Weird Mode up. Yeah, sometimes you gotta turn the temperature up, 97 degrees Fahrenheit. And next one, Storm Runner. Yes, a steel coaster and another one made by Intamin. Boy, you just gotta love their rides, right? And this one is, of course, a launch coaster that, once you start out at the station, you go out a few feet, and as soon as you hear those words, now get ready, here we go, well, the storm has begun because you go from 0 to 72 miles per hour. Yeah, that's right. It barely beats out Velocicoaster's top speed. But yes, you shoot out of there like a freaking bullet practically, and go up a big top hat hill at about 17 stories. Almost kind of reminds me of a little mini version of King Dakar a little bit, which is coincidentally another coaster that Intamin made at Six Flags Great Adventure. You descend down that top hat hill, making your way through a big inversion, which leads down another steep hill, followed by several more inversions, which are mostly a couple of barrel rolls, and around a couple of twists and turns, and yeah, that's actually it. And not to worry, this one also has shoulder restraints, because, man, it's a real adrenaline boost, because the speed you go at, wow, not much to say there. It's definitely one you gotta do at least once. All I can say is, Intamin, you've really done it again well for this park. My final verdict, Rockin' Weird Mode Wii Motion Plus up and a Playing Weird Mode up. So, next one, the Lightning Racer. And probably all know, and in case you don't know, yes, this is not one, but two wooden coasters. And they both dual, and yes, this is a pretty awesome ride. Probably one of my top 3 or top 5 favorite coasters in this park. Because, well, come on, it's a wooden racing coaster. And, okay, yeah, it's a typical wooden coaster. There's going to be some rough parts to it, but it's not the roughest one. I gotta say, out of all the wooden coasters that are here, and, well, I should say, were here, this is definitely the best one that I highly recommend. I recommend bringing a friend, or if you have somebody who came with you to the park, to go on one and have them go on the other, if you can get on at the same time, and, well, race. That's what they do. They go up the hill, and down the drops, and around, simultaneously racing each other through a bunch of drops, turns, and even a small tunnel, all until eventually you reach the finish line, and one always finishes ahead of the other. And yes, there's actually a finish line sign at the end, and it's always a different turnout. So, yeah, I'm not sure how they program it exactly, because I went on one, and then I went on the other, and each time I lost to the other one. So I'm just going to assume they calibrate them randomly or something. But either way, that doesn't matter. Winning isn't everything because these coasters are already winners. They are awesome. They are fun. You get a great view of the road that goes around the park and everything like that. Bottom line, you're looking for a good wooden coaster that's unique, thrilling, but not too intense or rough, then you'll definitely get your enjoyment out of this one. Or I should say, these two. So, may the best coaster win. But I could say both these coasters are winners because this one is definitely deserving of a rockin' two-year Wii Motion Pluses up. That's right. Let the races start because this one is certainly awesome. Now the next one, Candymonium. Yeah, one of the few coasters in this park that, like I mentioned with my minor nitpick in the first part of this whole review thing, is that there's not many rides named after candies or chocolate. But they changed the tides a little bit with naming this Candymonium. And, well, as I mentioned, this is located right near the new section of the park, which is pretty much built for this whole thing, right next to the Chocolatier restaurant, that, as I mentioned, is a little pricey, but you get a great perfect view of this attraction. And the whole queue line and everything is really great with all the advertisements for chocolates and all sorts of Hershey candy. Yeah, you could nitpick. That's a bit of a product placement right there. But come on, it's a place called Hershey Park. What else do you expect? And in a ride like this, you just got to go along with it. This is obviously a B&M coaster, non-invert to be exact. And, well, B&M made plenty of great thrilling and smooth experience rides like the Hulk, Kumba, and a bunch of others, and this one is no exception. This one, of course, only has a lap bar restraint, and that is because, like I said before, it has no inversions. It's all about the air time. Yeah, it makes sense considering the first drop is 210 feet, like I said, just barely beating out Sky Rush's height, being the tallest and fastest coaster in Hershey Park. Yeah, it actually beats out Storm Runner's top speed. I mean, wow. But yeah, you go down a steep 77-degree angle first drop, then up and down a 169-foot airtime hill. Yeah, that's what they call it, and it's the perfect name for it because you get a ton load of it here. And this ain't the only time, obviously. But, yes, after you go down that, you go around what's called a hammerhead turn. Yeah, that's what this is called apparently. But it leads you to more airtime hills, or bunny hills as some people call them, giving you a ton more airtime as I mentioned before. Then you go around a couple of twists and turns, in which the first one you bank right around a helix. Then you bank left as you go down this rather unique 270-degree turn dive. Yeah, it's tough to explain, but you really have to experience it for yourself because here, boy, you get insane ejector airtime right here. That's what this ride is all about, the airtime. But that ain't it right there, because then you go up and down one more hill, leading up to a rather unique and probably my favorite part of the ride when you go around the fountain that's at the front of the park. Yeah, as I mentioned, this is a completely new section of the park, and any non-riders, especially parents or anybody too scared to go on this one, can stand around and wait for anybody they know or anybody in particular going on this ride when they go around the fountain at a rather moderate speed. Though it will be tough to really find them because of course there are 3 trains on this ride, which keeps the lines flowing at a pretty steady pace. I mean, yeah, they can get pretty lengthy, but as I mentioned, getting the fast track is probably a good idea if you want to get through the long lines, especially on this one. But anyway, yeah, when you go around this fountain at a rather moderate speed, this is a perfect opportunity, like I said, for any non-riders to get their phones or cameras out to take pictures and videos up close of the riders going around this fountain. But that ain't it, because you do go up and down a few more small hills, in which a few of them are actually curved, leading you right back to the station, which sometimes you may have to wait because, like I said, there's 3 trains on this, so you have to wait for 1 or 2 to leave to get back in there to exit the ride. But all I can say is, yes, It may seem a little short for some riders that are looking for something nice and lengthy, but don't let that deviate from your expectation. This is definitely a must-do ride for anybody visiting this park, looking for, obviously, like I said, the tallest and fastest roller coaster, which gives you one of the biggest adrenaline rushes in this entire park. It's not only a thrilling experience, which gives you a glorious view of everything around you, especially the parking lot, considering you can see it right from there, and when you're driving by outside the park even, but because it's made by B&M, you could expect it to be a smooth and at the same time thrilling experience with plenty of ejector airtime thanks to only having lap bar restraints. And honestly, I can say this is probably one of my top 3, or I should say my most favorite coaster in this park, right next to one that I'm just about to mention. So B&M, I could safely say you did a fantastic job making one of the sweetest and most thrilling coasters in the park, because my final verdict is rockin' to Wii Remotes with Wii Motion Plus is up. Can't say much more there about this one. And last but not least, Wildcat's Revenge. Yes, the newest RMC coaster. And, well, before I get to it, I can't talk about this one, obviously, without talking about the original one that was there before, Wildcat. And in case you don't know, this wasn't the first incarnation of a Wildcat coaster at Hershey Park. There actually was an older one that was closed many, many years ago. Yeah, all the way back from 1923 to 1945. Damn. I guess this kitty used all its 9 lives by then. Yeah, in case you're wondering, it's actually where the Trailblazer and Stormrunner are actually standing right now. But, well, that kitty had to make a return, and it made a return in more or less the front section of the park where the new RMC hybrid coaster is standing, obviously. And, well, yeah, like most people can agree, I got one ride out of it back in 2018, and yeah, I gotta say, this is probably my least favorite ride here. It was incredibly rough, a real headache and whiplash inducer. It just threw me around, was very shaky. I've been on plenty of rough wooden coasters before, believe me, but this one has to be one of the roughest. I felt like I needed an aspirin or Advil after getting off this one. So, yeah. I got one ride on it, just to say I did it, just to see how rough it was. I couldn't agree more. I know it was the first of its kind, made by PTC with GCI toboggan cars, which are basically the same kind of ones used for the Lightning Racer. I mean, that ride, like I said, was awesome. This one, I don't know where they went wrong with it. I mean, the drop's not even steep or anything like that. You go around a couple of turns, but God, it just really bangs the shit out of you. I mean, this cat is fierce and not very friendly. So, yeah, I'm not surprised this one was on its way out. And when they announced it, I wasn't really sad to see it go because, well, you got 2 other sets of wooden coasters that are far better than this one. And this one wasn't even that old. Yeah, in 1996, which means this coaster only got just a shade over 20 years of lifespan before finally getting the necessary RMC revamping. So, yep, RMC, you're already on a roll with some of the greatest revamped steel wooden hybrid coasters. Do your part. And boy, they did more than just that. I mean, first of all, they made a steep drop, like most of their coasters have nowadays. I mean, Iron Gwazi, Steel Vengeance, and many, many more. And, well, they actually took the original first lift hill alongside the drop from the original wooden coaster and turned it into the world's largest underflip. That's right, because it's an RMC coaster, it's going to have inversions. What more do you expect? Like all of them do, and of course, it only has a lap bar restraint. But you do have to put a seatbelt on before putting it down. Though what's interesting is that there's 2 different types of things you can hold on to. You got 2 bars that you can grip that are built into the lap bar, and you have this other one that goes in between your legs, which almost resembles a rein. Yeah, you know, the thing for like when you're riding a horse. But the bottom line is, this ride is perfectly safe. And the car designs, man, they really outdid themselves this time around. I mean, just look at them. That's how you know it's not just Wildcat, it's Wildcat's Revenge. And this kitty's coming back for revenge, alright, to make an even better, much smoother, much more exhilarating and thrilling roller coaster that you ever see in the state of Pennsylvania. And I'm glad that this park finally got its first RMC coaster because, well, it needed it alright. And I will say they do have nods to the old original that this one obviously is a revamped version of at the station. A little piece of track at the front entrance. And of course, like I said, with the Underflip, which is where the original first drop was, as well as a couple other inversions and so forth. So yeah, this coaster is super crazy. This cat is just absolutely out of its mind. Guess you could say they really put it on catnip right here because it's crazy, it's thrilling, it's fast. You get an insane amount of airtime on it, especially towards the end of the ride, which makes it a real intense thrill ride and a total blast. And like most coasters in this park, yes, you got a photo on this one. Yeah, I neglected to mention that just about every single roller coaster in this park, including also the log flume, known as the coal cracker, and even that slow-moving car ride that I mentioned before in my Part 1 video. And I should also mention, too, that unlike every other coaster in this park, which has cubbies usually that you can store your stuff in at the ride's loading and unloading station, this one you have to store your stuff in lockers, which is further on in the queue line, basically when you're almost about to get on the ride. And like the lockers at Universal, these two are also free. It's not as big as Iron Gwazi, obviously drop-wise, but it's just as thrilling and exhilarating as you'd expect. So, all I could say, Hershey Park, is, way to go, you outdone yourself and gave this kitty an extra 9 lives to make a super awesome roller coaster from none other than RMC. Just another reason why they're the way of the future. So, my final verdict, rockin' 2-Wii remotes with Wii Motion Plus is up. Yup, it's that good, people. So, anyway, that about wraps up this review for now. I know I'm leaving out pretty much any other rides and attractions like the log flumes and the towers and everything like that, but because there's so many coasters to cover in this review, well, I can only do so much. And like I said in my last video, it's one big Hershey bar too big for one bite, so maybe I'll cover those other rides another time, maybe not, but I got other stuff I'm working on, so until next time, keep watching.